Hello Isorropia, Charlie here. For those of you that haven't met me before, I'm a wellbeing coach with Isorropia. Today, I'm going to be bringing you guys a video on counteracting negative thoughts. Here at Isorropia, we can spend a little bit of time looking into the theory, but today I'm going to briefly look at the theory, I want to spend a little bit more time looking at the solutions, and finally, I want to specifically be looking at the mechanics of using a thought diary, a tool that is personally very helpful to me. But before that, a quick recap. Negative thoughts and errors in our thinking are at the base of a whole host of mental health issues. We can quickly turn to the vicious cycle of depression and recognise that our thinking plays a large part in fueling the underlying issue. Of course, negative thinking doesn't just create depression, but can generate anxiety and so many other unhelpful emotions. Ultimately, our thinking is going to play a large part in fueling any emotional response that we have. Our thinking and beliefs are generally inherited from those around us. It can feel a little bit like a double slap. First, we've been given these unhelpful thinking styles, and now, second slap, it's our duty to make a concerted effort to sort it out. But how can we go about that? We can lose sight that ultimately our thoughts aren't based in fact. At the base of many of our negative thoughts are a myriad of irrational assumptions and subjective interpretations. It is when we buy into our assumptions and that we identify entirely with our negative thoughts that we exacerbate the problem, and we don't take into consideration evidence which would contradict our negative thoughts. In counteracting our negative thoughts and reducing their impact on our mood and emotions, we must force ourselves to consider other more rational and likely perspectives and find evidence to support a new, healthier way of thinking. Every thought that we will ever have is but a series of neural pathways firing in a specific sequence. The more that we have a specific thought, the more our thinking styles can become ingrained and reinforced. I ask you now to picture a pristine lawn. Every time that we have a thought, it's like we're walking a certain route across that lawn. The more we do that, the more a pathway is going to start to form as the grass gets trodden down, and eventually our thinking becomes so ingrained that we become entrenched. At this point, it becomes more natural for us to take the path well trodden, but we must recognise that with negative thoughts, this isn't self-serving and we must take another path. Many talking therapies are geared around helping people to correct ways of thinking. We don't necessarily just do this with therapists though. Think back to when you speak to those who are close to you, or wellbeing coaches, about your current concerns and worries. All that's happening there is that the other person gives you a different perspective and encourages you to see things from their point of view. This is fantastic, but the ideal, the dream, is that we can all learn to correct our way of thinking independently and for ourselves. This is where the tool I want to talk about today, the thought diary, comes into play. The thought diary is a tool very personal to me, and it's something that I still regularly use. It provides a simple to use format that anybody can access, which allows us to recognise our negative thoughts, examine the emotions we're feeling as a result, and find evidence against these thoughts so that we can gently bring ourselves back round to a more rational, accurate and positive way of thinking. Remembering that our negative thoughts are built on false assumptions, the thought diary takes out our added judgment and internal dialogue and refocuses us on the facts of the event. The thought diary asks us a series of 5 simple questions. Number 1, what's happened? This question asks you to reflect and apply introspection to find out what might have triggered your feelings. Maybe it was an argument with a friend or a comment on a message board. Number 2, what emotions are you feeling? It's important that we recognise what we're feeling, and that is a big part of developing emotional intelligence. Emotions can be complex, and sometimes there can be more than a single emotion at play. Are you feeling angry, sad, anxious maybe? Number 3, what are your negative thoughts? Write down what some of the beliefs you've got about the event are. Maybe you're thinking, I can't do this, I'm a failure, they'll think worse of me. Sometimes the process of expressing your negative thoughts on paper can help to reduce the intensity of your emotions, but the thought diary takes it a few steps further. Number 4, next, we must find evidence which goes against these negative thoughts. This is the evidence we'd usually be quick to disregard. What evidence is there which shows me that my thoughts aren't necessarily 100% true? For feelings of I can't do it, you might recognise that you've done it before, or overcome bigger adversity in the past. For feelings of I'm a failure, you might remind yourself of your previous successes. For thoughts of they'll think worse of me, you might directly look for evidence in their words or actions that shows you that they care. This is the evidence that you might usually get when you talk to a friend or a wellbeing coach, but now we're finding it for ourselves. And number 5, what is an alternative, more rational, positive thought or way of thinking? Now that we've found evidence against our negative thoughts, what new thoughts does this evidence point us to? Our thoughts might be replaced by more helpful thoughts like, although I'm scared, I can do this. Everybody makes mistakes, and I may have made one this time, but it doesn't define me. Or the people around me love and support me. They want me to succeed. Everybody is on my side. Using the thought diary and shifting our perspective is hard work. Everything that we propose is. However, the more we do this, the more the new thinking becomes reinforced and strengthened, exactly like flexing a muscle. Where I originally used this tool every day, I now find myself using it possibly once or twice a week. It gets easier. You'll be able to find your own copy in the unit section of the Facebook page. But how is it that we're going to find success? What is going to be the difference between success and failure? An honest application of the tools. It might take a while to start to feel the full benefits of the thought diary, but we must persevere. I know that a personal barrier of mine when I first came across these tools was grandiosity. I went into CBT therapy at the Gables, believing my problems to be unique and far too complex for any simple tool to work. Thomas touched on this concept before, and I had a little something he called contempt prior to investigation. I turned my nose up at what was being offered. This hampered my progress, and it took me many months and to get to a low place of desperation before I had the motivation to try it earnestly. We're all unique in the problems that we have. Nobody here will have had the same experience as the next person along. However, something which isn't necessarily seen by our members is the crossover in issues, and that despite our roots into our mental health, we all share a lot of similarities. The way I like to put it is different paths, same destination. The truth is that the thought diary will universally bring benefit to anybody who applies it, and we must ensure that we honestly apply it to the best of our ability. All of these tools can be applied to us, and all of us can find success. Nobody is too complicated. We can take confidence in those who have gone before. Look to your peers who've been here for a while, and look to us, the wellbeing coaches. The proof is in the success of those around us, and together we can join in this success, and we may even find that in time our symptoms alleviate or disappear entirely. I'm going to leave it here for now, but as always, I'm going to leave it with a few questions for you guys. How is it that you counteract your negative thoughts? Have you tried a thought diary before? And if so, how have you found it helpful? If you want to put your answers in the comments section below, I'll do my very best to get back to you. Until next time, look after yourselves, take care, and I'll see you soon. Peace.